Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This is ScryMind, and this is going to be a 1 versus 1 game on Two Rivers, the new and different Two Rivers. So they have added a tavern to the right side of the map. I'm a fan of that. Having a tavern on pretty much all the maps I think would be good. I guess it does make certain maps a little bit more unique to restrict the teams to their sort of racial heroes. But in terms of variables and potentials, possibilities, etc., the tavern adds a lot of sort of different strategic possibilities and stuff. So, but anyway, I'm going to be Orc here at the top right. My opponent is Elf. I don't remember if we were both random or what. I guess at the beginning of this audio it sort of showed that on the load screen, but anyway, I'm deciding to go for a Shadowhunter first. So they gave the Shadowhunter some substantial buffs here. I think they buffed the movement speed. Actually, I don't know if they buffed the movement speed, but they definitely did buff the Serpent Ward's damage and hit points a significant amount. And I already felt that the Serpent Wards were pretty solid summoned units. And especially in terms of some specific strategies, like against Elf, for example, if they've got like archers or huntresses or dryads or druids of the Talon, the Serpent Wards I feel are pretty strong against all those units. Now against bears, they're going to be very weak. I guess against Chimera, if that comes up, they're going to be strong, or Hippogriff Riders. But mainly like the the unarmored or low hit point ground units, I feel they're very strong against. And the other part of this hero is, I mean, you could say Heal Wave or Hex, and Hex is also a very strong spell in my opinion. Now, what mitigates the Shadowhunter from being quote unquote a broken hero is his stats are sort of mediocre, and the main stat that's weak for the Shadowhunter is his damage output. He does 22 to 28 damage with an average attack speed. He does have a ranged attack, but his base attack damage is towards the lower end of all the heroes, even though he's an agility hero. His DPS is not amazing. And I guess the other point of this is his hit points are okay. His armor is actually pretty good at 4. And Hex, but his strength lies in his abilities. Hex, Heal Wave, and Serpent Wards are all very strong abilities in my opinion. Now, Heal Wave and Hex are the more mana intensive ones, and then if you want to spam Serpent Wards, they're 30 mana apiece. So you can basically get 3 Serpent Wards for every Heal Wave, I think. But in conjunction with salves and clarity potions, you're generally in a good position with getting a Shadowhunter out there, keeping your units healed up, keeping your mana up. But anyway, what I plan to do in this game, now that he's elf and stuff, I'm not sure if I knew before, but he looks like he's walled his base off in preparation for a Blade Master, which is never going to be coming. But anyway, and he's got this Hunter's Hall going in a sort of hidden location, or out of the way location. But my plan is to do a very committed tier 2 push and potentially tower rush him. So I'm throwing up the War Mill. I'm getting a second barracks, and the reason I want to do this tier 2 push is I want to catch him before he really gears up into some big army late game, before he gets like maybe Cyclone. Uh-oh. Ooh, man, that was incredibly close on that Demon Heart. 10 hit points. Wow, that was nuts. I guess a Talisman of Evasion. He needs a second hero, or that's going to be mostly useless at the moment. But that was really close there on his part. He only had 2 archers. It's pretty amazing how well the Demon Hunter can creep, especially with like a Gloves of Haste. But anyway, the Demon Hunter's a good hero. They did nerf the Demon Hunter slightly, and he got arguably an indirect nerf with so many other heroes getting their movement speed buff. But anyway, back to the strategic aspect here. My goal is to catch him with not a very big army. If he's going for Masters of the Talon, I feel like pushing with Demolishers and Serpent Wars, throwing towers up, I feel like that will give me a good chance, especially coming in with full mana and Hex potentially. It will really give me a good chance to sort of strike a blow and maybe win the game on the spot if I can get towers up and just overwhelm him with stuff. And we'll take a look at his army size. He's got 3 archers and a huntress, and he's actually going for Ancients of the Lore, so he looks like he's going to be going for a bear build instead of Druids of the Talon, or arguably could be going for Dryads, which I think these Serpent Wards will be good against. Now here I make a pretty large mistake. I definitely didn't expect him just to be right here when I was running in. So he catches me with a mana burn, which is somewhat annoying. It's only 50 mana, so it's not 100 mana, which would have been devastating to this sort of strategy. But knocking me down, also I wanted to hex him and put a couple of Serpent Wards up in case we were going to battle there. Well, now I'm going into the battle with about half of my mana pool. So that's a little bit frustrating for the strategy. I want to avoid mana burn if at all possible, especially getting, starting to drop all these Serpent Wards. It's sort of an all-in type move. If this doesn't go well, I'm probably in bad shape. He's actually not throwing an expansion up, so, if I can, sort of have an even battle here, it's not to say that I automatically lose, but if this doesn't work. But yeah, so I need to, so I got 1 Demolisher, I've got a Headhunter, I'm dropping these Serpent Wards, and you look, they do 14 to 16 damage, 600 range, so they have more range than an unupgraded Archer. They have the same range as a Keeper of the Grove. They do about 15 damage average a hit. That's pretty decent. And yeah, look, he doesn't, all he's massing out now is Dryads. So Dryads should take a ton of damage from Headhunters, should take a ton of damage from definitely Towers, Demolishers, and Serpent Wards. And again, you notice he doesn't look like he's mana burning. He needs to mana burn me now, but he's in danger of losing his hero. And also, he didn't transfer the Talisman of Evasion to the Keeper. That was a big mistake. I don't think it would have won in the game, but it probably would have helped him a little. But again, I just overwhelmed him. You notice he didn't have a ton of units. He had about 3 archers and a huntress. He did have 2 heroes, and he made this Ancient of War here. But again, it wasn't enough. He didn't have it when I came up. Well, I guess he did sort of have it there, but yeah, the Dryads really aren't going to help him here. And if he were to go bears, and I would have waited, another 2 or 3 minutes, I might be running into a battle where he's got rejuvenation and potentially master Druids of the Claw, so aka bears, and that would have been much harder to defeat with my Demolishers and a handful of grunts, Headhunters. The bears are very efficient units once or the Druids of the Claw are very efficient once you start getting their upgrades and using rejuvenation and roar and all that stuff. So, but the sort of standard thing that elves like to do against orc is, I don't know if it's map specific, but a lot of elves will like to go for the cyclone and all that stuff. And I think this strategy actually should fare pretty well against the Mass Druid of the Talon strategy. He got some pretty good uses out of that lightning shield. I think it looks like he maybe is going to kill. Yeah, that lightning shield is killing me here. I need to be very careful. Yep, got 1 kill, did a ton of damage to the Demolisher. I didn't micro the best on that one, but anyway, I think one of these peons has lightning shield in his building, and it's going to come out and still have lightning shield. We'll see though, but if it hasn't already, but yeah, look, what's he going to do here? He lost his Ancient of War. He can't build, like, Glaive Throwers. Not that I don't know if that's the best unit anyway, but no Glaive Throwers. He finally did transfer the Talisman, so that's, he's not, oblivious to that point. But, again, I just start pumping out, see, there's that peon. He had Lightning Shield. I guess the cooldown sort of pauses when it's building, which I didn't actually realize that. But, anyway, that's, there for a second I thought it might last forever, but yeah, I think that timing push, I think, is really good timing. Even if they go for that Druid of the Talon type strategy. Again, you do have to be aware of mana burn though. If he gets off, especially if he gets off like a level 2 mana burns on your Shadow Hunter, it really devastates the strategy. So you want to if you see him coming in with a Demon Hunter, you want to hex him immediately. Start dropping your summons. Move the Shadow Hunter back. Try to path zone him or sort of path him out from getting to your Shadow Hunter, and so you can utilize all your mana. And then obviously once you're at no mana, then his mana burns don't matter. So you can sort of stop worrying about it at that point. But yeah, if you start dropping all these Serpent Wards and you hex his hero for long periods of time, the Demon Hunter is a big source of damage. So hexing him not only stops him from mana burning you temporarily, but it also stops him from doing his regular attacks, which is a pretty big deal. Another subtle point about hex is, well, 2 points. One, I don't know if it's intended or not, but it disables the auras of, if you hex an aura hero, it disables the aura for a duration of hex. Even though I don't think the graphics show that. I think the graphics still show sort of the aura graphic, at least momentarily. I don't know, but there is a sort of span of time when you hex an aura hero where the aura goes away. And the other big point about hexing a hero is, and this is more about in the middle of a battle, is hexing a hero prevents that hero from leveling up on experience, but it does not prevent that hero from drawing experience. And what I mean to say is from splitting the experience. Like if you kill enemy units or creeps, or buildings, certain buildings, something that would normally give you experience, and you have 2 heroes and one of them is hexed, what happens is it still splits the experience as if you have 2 heroes, so it splits the experience in 2, between those 2 heroes. The problem though with that is, I say problem, and again I don't know if it was intended, maybe it was for balance purposes to make hex a little bit better, but the hero, if that kill happened when the hero was hexed, then it splits the experience, but the hex hero does not actually level up on the experience. It just is lost. That experience, is lost. So basically, half of your experience, or if you have 3 heroes, a third of the experience, or if you only have a single hero, 100% of the experience gained when your hero is hexed is lost. So obviously a single hero suffers the most. If you have 2 heroes, it splits it. It's not quite as bad. And if you have 3 heroes, it's even a little bit less. It lessens it that much more. But even at the sort of the least, this is every kill that you get when your hero's hexed. So if you actually don't get any kills when the hero's hexed, or buildings destroyed, then it doesn't come up. The experience isn't split when the hero isn't hexed as a critter, so it doesn't have any impact in that sense. But if a bunch of units get killed, or heroes or whatever, and you've got 1 or 2 heroes, it's a significant impact. And over the course of a long game, I think that is a subtly underrated sort of effect of hex impact in the game. And again, the Shadow Hunter is one of the most used second heroes for Orc. And I don't know if people are pros probably are consciously aware of it. I would guess. Not to say that if this wasn't the case, the Shadow Hunter wouldn't be used. I still think the Shadow Hunter is a really strong hero, regardless of this subtle point, and also regardless of the aura sort of aspect. But it just is that much. It makes him that much stronger. Those 2 things. And again, if you understand this, you can maybe take advantage of it. You're maybe about to lose a level 3 or 4 hero. You know this. You can't stop it, and you have hex ready. and you want to prevent one hero from getting up to the next level that they maybe are going to hit. Or, you just want to reduce how much experience they get from this kill that's about to happen. So, your hero's about to die, you hex their hero, and they potentially lose a bunch of the experience from that kill. I mean, it's a really sort of situational thing. A lot of times, people probably aren't thinking about it that way. They're probably just using hex, whenever it's available and they think it's useful. Or sometimes they sort of just focus on heal wave mainly. But yeah, it's something you should be aware of. And I do think, like I say, I think it's an underrated thing that sort of subtly skews games, like, especially in like the Orc versus Undead matchup. A lot of times you might hex the Death Knight, and he's an aura hero, and your Undead sort of the strength of Undead is like burst damage and nuking down stuff, hit and run. Well, if you're in a battle and you take away Unholy Aura for a bit, and they manage to get some unit kills while that Death Knight or that Lich is hexed, well, those you're losing half the experience there. Or if you're down to one hero, you might be losing all the experience. So you add that up a couple of times, and it's almost functions like if you only have one hero, hexing and then losing a unit, it functions as you denying them, like as if you denied them the kill. You got the last hit on your own unit or whatever, and you denied them all the experience. That's sort of, you might say, the effect. Closely so, or sending it to a creep camp or something, and the creep's killing it. That's, it's, you add that up though. That happens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times maybe, or it happens on like a level 2, 3, 4, 5 hero. They lose half the experience or all of the experience or a third of the experience from those kills. A handful of times, and all of a sudden you're looking at almost like you're stealing, you're keeping a bunch of experience from them that could have made the difference in the game. I haven't, it'll be a tedious chore maybe to figure out, try to estimate like averages of this. It's not hard to really, it's not hard to like look at a score screen or anything. It doesn't show up in the score screen that's happening. You would have to really get an accurate idea of this happening, you'd have to watch replays really closely and do the math, like for every kill when it's a hero's hexed, counting up the heroes that are there, figuring out what unit died, what hero died, and doing it over and over and over again through an entire replay, or however long there's a Shadow Hunter in the replay. So it would be sort of tedious, but I would be a little curious. If it'd be good if you could automate that somehow. I mean, I assume, you probably could. I don't have nearly, I have next to no, like programming skills. So I won't be the one, able to do that myself. Now, maybe getting somebody to do it or commissioning them to do it, would be something to look into. But anyway, I would be a little bit curious to see, just how often that happens on average, like how much experience on average Hex denies people. And again, that's, I don't even know if it's necessarily a conscious decision. If it was a conscious decision, it might happen even more often. But I think typically players will just like proactively try to use their skills proactively, and so, when it happens, it's probably just, sort of a side effect of them using Hex a bunch of, whenever it's available. So, but maybe I'll try to send Grubby, ask Grubby on his YouTube or Twitch or something if I get a chance, and see what he says about that stuff. I assume Grubby's he's a world-class player. He's one of the most, I don't want to say he's like the best player I've ever seen. He's probably one of the pros I've seen the most seen him play the most. He seems like a good guy and everything, but I assume he, and Orc is his race. I assume he knows both of these facts. I think of them as obscure facts, but again, his game knowledge is like mine. Watching his streams and his YouTube is just not only his micro and everything, but his game sense and game knowledge is like just shocking. Like, honestly, I mean, I guess you don't you don't really think of it as like, oh, you just think, well, maybe that guy's just really good at gaming, and he's played a lot, but it's like people probably underestimate just the amount of like effort and knowledge that these people, these pro level players have, at least in Grubby's case. Like, it seems like from just hearing him talk about stuff, he's got it down. Even though he's sort of quote unquote retired from the Warcraft scene, like Warcraft's sort of not the hottest, not the most popular game, so to speak, in terms of users anymore, and tournaments, I guess, in the global scale or sense, but yeah, he's still got the skills, from my perspective, his humble, level that I'm at, but anyway, that's gonna be the end of this audio. Again, you can click through the scores here. Gold mine, very close on the gold mine. Lumber, a little different, but again, it probably didn't make a difference. I had a single here at level 4. He split. He had 2 heroes. I, probably got level 4 killing his heroes, I assume. So, unit kills fairly close at the end. Going into that battle was probably like, I would assume, dead even. I mean, we both were just creeping though. So, largest army, I was slightly at my largest point, 41 versus 38, slightly ahead. I brought all those peons though, and that's another thing. Like, peons, they're not the most amazing combat unit per se, but compared to like wisps, like wisps can attack, they have less hit points, I think they have less armor, 0 damage output, so they're by far not as good at combat as peons. So yeah, I bring those peons, and then I can leverage that into like towers. I can immediately like use my resources to make towers. He can do the same thing with his wisps, but he loses a wisp. If he makes towers, he loses a wisp. If he makes Ancients of War, he loses a wisp. Whereas my peons are just coming out, can build another one, can attack, can do this and that. The detonate does not affect Serpent Wards because they're magic immune. So, detonate is not quite as strong against, well, definitely compared to like a Farseer. Farseer is getting a little bit more popular because of the buffs and the nerf to the Blade Master. But yeah, I don't want to say that the Farseer is now better than, or the Shadowhunter is now the better hero compared to the Farseer. But just in terms of detonate, if you detonate Wolves versus detonate Serpent Wards, I mean, obviously Wolves are going to take damage, Serpent Wards won't. So it sort of maybe depends on what you're fighting. You get piercing damage from Serpent Wards, and you get normal damage from Spirit Wolves. So if you're fighting a bunch of archers, you maybe would rather have Spirit Wolves. If you're fighting a bunch of Dryads and Dots, for sure you would rather have Serpent Wards, definitely against Dots, because Serpent Wards, magic immune, and piercing. So piercing damage is good against Dots and Dryads. Being magic immune, Druids of Talon cannot fairy fire them, and they do zero damage to them. They can't cyclone them either. So Spirit Wolves take extra from magic damage, so Dots. They can be abolished abolished by Dryads, so there's another point. They can be cycloned. Like I said, they take extra from magic damage, so Druids of Talon, Stormhawk or whatever from the Beastmaster if they go for that. And detonate. They can be detonated. So, and you can only have 2 Spirit Wolves out at a time, whereas you can have, I don't know the maximum number of Serpent Wards, but you can for sure get up to like 5, if they're not killing them. fairly easily. But yeah, having like 3 to 5 is not really all that uncommon. So the range, you've got 600 range on the Serpent Wards. I don't know what the average DPS is at level 1, 2, and 3 for the Wolves versus the Serpent Ward. I don't know those exact numbers, but, and again, you get 2 Spirit Wolves for every casting. So, but you don't have as much of an upside. You can't have out like 5 Spirit Wolves. You only have out 2. Oh well, if you're the Orc player. If you're a human player and you're stealing Spirit Wolves with control magic, you can actually have as many as you want. Well, I say as many as you want. You can actually have like 4, at least. 3 or 4, I've seen that happen before. So, but anyway, that's obscure stuff. Really not important. The main thing is, I think the Serpent Wards are a much better option against Druids of Talon, and really Elf in general. Maybe, I don't know. I've seen Groby is like really good with the, and again, I'm sure a lot of the pro work players are really good with using the Spirit Wolves to scout. You can't really scout Serpent Wards are immobile, so you're not going to really be scouting, harassing, not as much. Though, I've had some success, at least rushing human players with like a 1 grunt and 1 Shadow Hunter and just spamming Serpent Wards everywhere in the base. Of like a human player who does like Goblin Lab creeping with Militia. You could probably the same thing applies to like an elf if they are Ancient of War creeping like a really aggressive camp somewhere, and they can't go back to their main, or if they do, they're going to be damaged and it's going to mess their timing up. It probably applies there too. So, some tower rushes and Serpent Ward rushes could be a thing now. I think. I mean, it depends on the enemy's strategy and everything, but I would not be surprised to see a really big increase in Shadow Hunter usage, at least Serpent Ward usage. Maybe not. I mean, the Shadow Hunter already was fairly common as a second hero, but yeah, I'm a fan of the Serpent Wards. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this audio. ScryMind signing out.